So let us study about the social cost of monopoly or the deadweight cost of monopoly. So in front of his question where it is asked that using suitable diagram show that under monopoly consumer surplus is lower, obviously. Why? Why? Because in monopoly price charge is higher than that of a competitive market. So since the buyer will have to pay more price, so the consumer will obviously decrease. That we will show using the diagram. But the producer surplus is higher than that of perfectly competitive market. Again true, because the price charged has increased, so the producer is going to enjoy the extra surplus, whereas compared to the competitive market. So that is what we are going to show using the diagram. But after comparing this, I will also show you that what happens to the welfare of the society as the market moves from competitive to the monopoly. So there is a overall, instead of increase in producer surplus and decrease in consumer surplus, the decrease in consumer surplus is much more than the increase in producer surplus. As a result, when the market shifts from competitive market to monopoly market, what happens? Overall there is welfare loss, which is the social cost of monopoly. So that part also I will show using this diagram. So now let's begin with the diagram. So let us draw. So on the x-axis we have output, and on the vertical axis I have marginal revenue curve, marginal cost curve, and the demand curve, that is the AR curve. Now let's quickly draw the MR curve. So this is the MR curve. Then let us draw the demand curve, that is the average revenue curve. And that portion of the MC curve which represent the supply curve in a short run competitive market, as well as that is the marginal cost curve of a monopoly. So that is a upward sloping linear MC that I'm going to show, so that it will be easier for us to show the shaded portions for the consumer and producer surplus. So here is the marginal cost curve, right? Now let us mark the point of competitive equilibrium. So in a short run competitive market, demand curve is equal to supply curve. On here the supply curve is the portion of the MC curve above the minimum AVC, which is the blue line here. So the point of equilibrium is this and denoted by EP. Okay, now at this point the competitive market produces Q, C amount of output at the price PC, right? Now as the market shifts from competitive equilibrium to monopolist equilibrium, that is the monopolist profit maximizing condition is at the point where MR is equals to MC. So in this diagram MR is equals to MC at this point, right? Let me say this is point EM, that is the monopoly equilibrium. So the profit maximizing output by a monopolist is QM, which is less than the competitive output, and the price charged at this for this output by a monopolist is higher than the competitive price, that is PM, right? Now let's mark these sections, right? Okay, say this is A, this is B, this is C, this is D, this is E, F, G and H, right? Now let's compare the consumer surplus under both the market. Okay, so under perfectly competitive market the area is, so this is the perfectly competitive price. That means this whole triangle is the consumer's equilibrium, that is consumer surplus, that is A plus B plus C plus D plus E. Okay, so this is perfectly competitive market. And under monopoly, since the price has okay, under monopoly, since the price has increased from PC to PM, that means now this CDE is not the part of the consumer surplus. The consumer is losing this surplus because now the consumer is paying higher price than PC. So the consumer surplus is only A and B, that is A plus B. So if I compare the consumer surplus, okay, so the change, right, that is how much? Minus C plus D plus E. So this is the loss of consumer surplus when the market moves from perfect competition to monopoly, and obviously it is clear that the consumer surplus under monopoly is less than that under perfectly competitive market. Now moving on to the producer surplus part. Now under perfectly competitive market, the producer surplus is what? Since this is the PC is the price, so the producer surplus is F, D and H. F plus D plus H. And when the market turns monopoly, so now the price charged is PM. So that means now the C plus D is the extra uh, gain, or in that is addition to the consumer producer surplus, but this H is not there. Okay, so this trapezium shape is now the producer surplus, that is C, D, F and G. So that is C plus D plus F plus G. So the change in producer surplus is plus, it's positive, okay, F gets cancelled, D gets cancelled. So this is C plus H plus G. So this is the gain. Now loss of consumer surplus and gain of producer surplus. Yet I can see that when the market was under perfectly competitive market, there was this extra E and H included when I have combined consumer surplus plus producer surplus. So under perfectly competitive market, social welfare is equals to consumer surplus plus producer surplus, which was the whole, let's say, let's name this triangle. So this is A, this is B and this is EP. So that was the area of triangle ABEP, the whole part, right? But as I shifted to monopoly, then the social welfare is how much? This whole area minus this triangle. Let me shade it for you. This one, this area. That is your H plus F minus the area H plus F. So this is the overall loss when the economy shifts from competitive to monopolies. So this is your social cost of monopoly, or also called the deadweight loss of monopoly. That's all.